Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. I am Sarah Ayuku, and here are our top stories for tonight. Now the news in full. The meetings aimed at staving off the threat of strike by labor unions in the country have continued, with the federal government team meeting with the Joe Ajaero-led faction. Some of the issues discussed and agreed on, according to the leader of the faction and Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole, include a look at how the minimum wage can be reviewed upward, activities of the Board of the Petroleum Products Pricing and Regulatory Agency, among others. Now, in other news, the National Industrial Court sitting in Abuja is stopping the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress from embarking on a strike action tomorrow, Wednesday. The labour unions had, in a communique issued at the end of an emergency meeting held on Saturday, vowed to embark on a nationwide industrial action should the federal government refuse to reverse the sudden hike in the price of fuel. However, the NLC President, Justice Babatunde Adejumo, is restraining Labour Union from going on strike pending the determination of a suit the federal government lodged before it. The court further orders all parties to maintain status quo until the legal dispute is settled. The order follows an ex parte application filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami. Also, the Senate has endorsed the federal government's decision to peg the pump price of petrol at 145 per litre, rising from an executive session presided by Deputy President of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu. The Senate calls on the government to parley labor unions in order to forestall the threatened strike. Ekweremadu says the Senate sympathizes with Nigerians for the hardship which the new prices of petrol will cause, and calls on the government to implement the palliatives. Yeah, we have our correspondent Emmanuel Eijene, who has been following up on the meeting between the labor unions and the federal government. Emmanuel, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, can you please tell us what actually is happening at the labor union meeting, between the labor union meeting and the federal government?
Yeah, as it is, we are still at the venue, still at the awaiting the outcome of the meeting between federal government and what our faction of the NLC.
Okay, so what would you say is the situation right now? You've been waiting for how many hours? Can you tell us how many hours the reporters, journalists have been waiting for this particular meeting to hold?
For the waiting has been on since 3 p.m. today. So we are approximately 6 to 7 hours.
Earlier you told us about the meeting between the Ajaero faction and the Edo State Governor. What would you say, what was the conclusion they arrived at?
Okay. The part of the resolution there was they were to set a committee to look into the demand of the Ajaero faction of the NL.
Okay.
And part of the demand of Nigerian factory was the review of the minimum wage from 80,000 to about 6,000.
Okay.
Another aspect of the resolution is the view of the view of the PPRA. Another resolution also is a provision in the budget that suggested that ½ trillion naira is set aside for social funds. So those were the issues that they reached out.
Okay, so was there any conclusions as to the minimum wage being reviewed? Was there any conclusions on these matters?
No, there is no. What they looked at was the go out and reach out to stakeholders, and that they should come back in 2 weeks' time with whatever decision they have reached, so that they can pass the resolution back to the federal.
All right, now the question everybody wants to know is, will this strike still continue tomorrow? But since the federal government and the labor unions are yet to reach a conclusion, would you like to tell us if the strike will still continue tomorrow as stipulated by the labor unions?
Okay, we don't know yet. That is why we are still waiting. The federal government is meeting with WAPA action. Maybe when they come out, should be able to know if strike will continue tomorrow or not. For now, we are still for the WAPA action to include that to the federal government information.
All right, thank you very much, Emmanuel Ejene, our correspondent in Abuja, giving us the nitty-gritty of what is happening right there in that meeting between the federal government and the labor unions. Moving on, the strike threat currently hanging on the nation like the proverbial sword of Damocles is nothing but a step in the wrong direction by organized labor to respond to the decision by the federal government. A forum of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria, in a joint press conference addressed by its leader, Wole Badmus, describes the proposed action by the leadership of organized labor as counterproductive, vowing to resist it and mobilize Nigerians against it. Our correspondent, Kozim Kasali, tells us more.
The forum, a group of over 30 non-governmental organizations and community-based organizations from all over the country, describes as a misplacement of priority the reaction by the leadership of organized labor to the hike in the price of premium motor spirit. The reaction of the labor leadership, according to the group, is one that will plunge the nation further into chaos, vowing to sensitize and mobilize Nigerians against it.
The subsidy is very regressive because it is a cost on the whole economy. It is a burden on the whole economy. It takes resources away, especially from the poor, and reward those who consume more fuel.
The group added that in the face of the loss of over 1 trillion naira on an annual basis against the injection of such sums of money into the economy through a series of palliatives by the federal government, it will take the palliatives. It urges the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress and other labor leaders to do more to protect the rights of workers to decent work and wages, while urging the labor leaders to look at the grim realities that the nation currently faces.
Since late last year, independent marketers have brought in little or no fuel because they have been unable to get foreign exchange from CBN. That is the situation we are in now, which Nigerians must face, instead of all these lies that people are spreading about.
It, however, challenges labor leaders to come up with alternative solutions and ideas to the palliatives being offered by the federal government to the tune of over 500 billion naira in the 2016 budget. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Still in the same news, as the nation waits with bated breath to know the outcome of the ongoing talks between the federal government and organized labor and civil society's coalition, the House of Representatives ad hoc committee on the issue mandated to interface with labor had disclosed that it had fruitful discussions with the leaders of both umbrella unions.
despite the pains that they may possibly inflict, we want to believe that we have no other time than now. We want to also appeal to Nigerian people to also exercise a greater sense of restraint, to also express a greater sense of understanding, so that together we can be able to move Nigeria forward. So, honorable members, I report to you the result of my private meetings with the two leaders of the two unions, and that subsequently we are going to meet with them this afternoon, where we will also subsequently invite the press and tell them the results of our meeting.
That's the chairman of the committee and deputy chief whip of the House, Ado Doguwa. Moving on now, a joint session of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress and their allies in the civil society have vowed to move on with the protest and strike if no concrete resolution is reached between the union leadership and the federal government soon. At a briefing in Lagos, organized labour describes the injunction by the National Industrial Court as an antic of the federal government to scamper the planned max action, vowing to move on and ensure that the planned strike is enforced to the fullest. Our correspondent Akin Obakaya tells us more.
While Nigerians await either a mass protest or a last-minute boycott, the Lagos State chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress and the Joint Action Front says there is no turning back on the planned strike unless the federal government reverts to the old petrol pump price.
We are all prepared, and this action must continue until if there is any other decision or any other information from Abuja.
If you have money in the bank, better go and withdraw enough money. Because by the time we saw that the system, even the ATM you rely on will not work.
According to the unions, the injunction by the National Industrial Court restraining organized labor from proceeding on the planned strike will not deter them.
The mass action is on, the strike action is on. And that is what we have seen with our demonstration here. Let them come with the injunction. We will disobey whatever useless injunction they are coming up with. Because we have a responsibility to own our country. There's nothing they can explain to us why those black market injunctions must stay.
Nigerians wait and watch to know who will blink first between the federal government and Labour. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Still on the fuel pump price, sequel to the recent increase in the fuel price, Nigerians, organized labour and the legislative arm of government react to the policy which they tagged inconsiderably and unbearable. Though their means of rendering their opinion differs, still their objective remains the same. On our flagship program called Digest, analysts examine the benefit and the brunt of the new petrol price policy on Nigerians. Our correspondent files in this report.
With the recent summon of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachuku, by the House of Representatives on the increase of fuel price, has received mixed reactions from Nigerians on the National Assembly intervention on the fuel price increase.
The same Kachuku himself has been blowing hot and cold. He has not been consistent at all since he became Minister of State for Petroleum. And we must not forget, the President is the Minister of Petroleum Resources.
Yes.
All right? The President himself is the Minister of Petroleum Resources. And so he owes a duty to Nigerians.
However, these analysts believe that the President's decision on the deregulation of the oil sector is to deal with challenges confronting Nigerians.
This government has decided to say any information we want to give to Nigeria, let it come from one source. Whatever Kachuku says, it is assumed that the federal government that is saying it.
Okay. Callers also contribute their opinions.
I believe in this government. I believe in the man Buhari, but frankly speaking, what we are seeing is different thing from what we believe. Actually, the man is not corrupt, but to my own feeling, as of now, is that we don't know the job. We want President Muhammad Buhari to come out to tell us the intention. What we have for this country? There's no 1 year now. Can anybody tell me one important thing that this man has achieved?
It is hoped by Nigerians that the different arms of government will support the president in all sectors.
A break. Turn with more stories from across Nigeria. Do stay with us.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure, like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Welcome back. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. Now let's have a look and have a reminder of our top stories for tonight. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. For more of our top stories, you can check our social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. You can watch our videos at youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space in news. Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun says the federal government has fully paid the 48.2 billion outstanding subsidy arrears owed oil marketers in 2015. This was contained in a statement presented by the ministry's Director of Information, Salisu Dambata, in Abuja. According to Dambata, the payment was made recently to enable the oil marketers to import petroleum products and meet up with their other financial needs. The Minister of Finance has also directed the Debt Management Office to pay the claims less tax liability of 5.2 billion naira, which was computed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The existential threat that corruption poses to Nigeria can only be eradicated with the support of all Nigerians, irrespective of tribe, religion, or political affiliations. The impact of corruption is also why the nation has found itself in the present predicament, with no choice other than to increase the fuel pump price due to a variety of reasons, all traceable to corruption. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while speaking at the launch of a book in Abuja titled Anatomy of Corruption, Issues, Controversies and Solutions, promises all Nigerians that the Buhari administration will secure the nation's future. Our correspondent Kozim Kasali tells us more.
It is a gathering of who is who business as they celebrate one of their own, Yusuf Ali, a member of the inner bar who authored the legal aspect and others affecting the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Leading the tribute is Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, himself a lawyer, who disclosed that the book is a reference point. Leading the tribute is Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who in his speech disclosed that the book is a reference point in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. He added that the current situation facing the country is a result of the corrupt tendencies that have stunted national development. However, promised that the Buhari administration will do all within its powers to secure the future of Nigeria.
If you don't have foreign currency, you have to import fuel. All of our refined petroleum today is imported. A lot of the problems we have associated with the refineries are corruption-related issues, even with the refineries. If we repair our refineries today, we will still only be able to produce or refine 40% of our petroleum. So we still need to import until we're able to get in products.
Chairman of the occasion and Chief Justice of Nigeria, Mahmoud Mohammed, represented by Mohammed Musa Datijo, charges all members of the legal profession and Nigerians in general to shun corruption and take a cue from the author.
That corruption be diminished to an infinite minimum in Nigeria. His willingness to facilitate the change is laudable, and it is certainly a tangible display of the necessary sacrifice that we must all strive to ensure that our people at last richly deserve to be evidence of good governance.
On what he intends to achieve with the book and its compelling title, especially at a time like this, he disclosed that it is meant to start a conversation and provoke action on Nigerians who may have a better solution to the issue of corruption in the country.
The book that is being presented today is a product of my years of agony on the issue of corruption and its devastating effects on us, the citizens, and the country as a whole. The realization of the power of corruption was a guiding factor in selecting topics contained in the book and the people contacted to discuss them.
Members of the inner bar who came in their numbers to honor one of their own said the book is a compelling read, especially on the issue of corruption, which has stunted the nation's growth. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
In other news now, the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Danladi Umar, is admitting that there were attempts made on him to influence the trial of former governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, who was charged and acquitted on allegations of false assets declaration in 2011. Umar's revelation came during the trial of Senate President Bukola Saraki, who is facing charges on false and anticipatory asset declaration. Our correspondent, Basil Okafor, tells us more.
The trial of Saraki at the CCT on Tuesday took another dimension as the chairman of the tribunal made a surprising revelation on how external forces wanted to influence the trial of Tinubu. He made this while allaying the fears of Saraki and his lawyers that the tribunal was being controlled by external forces. The tribunal chairman assured the defense of the determination of the tribunal to do justice in the case, as he and his co-panel member will give account to God. Umar further urged the lawyers on both sides of Saraki's trial to conduct themselves in a manner that would enhance speedy determination of the case. It was after this that the cross-examination of prosecution witness Michael Wekas continued, and he remained consistent that Saraki made anticipatory asset declaration.
We are running a cross-examination based on the counts. Don't forget, it's the counts that we have to disprove to establish the innocence of the defendant. And therefore, we are not taking any chances. We are going it count by count.
In a situation where you spend 4 days on one count, and we have much counts, so which means you multiply 4 by those number of counts that we have. Does that mean that this thing will not finish this year just on one witness? So that is why we are saying that they are slowing down the matter.
The matter has been adjourned till May 18 for continuation of cross-examination of the prosecution witness. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal has slated May 31st to hear an appeal the Senate President Bukola Saraki lodged against his trial before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Saraki is challenging the jurisdiction of the Justice Danladi Umar-led tribunal to try him on the 16-count criminal charge the federal government preferred against him. The charge borders on his alleged false anticipatory declaration of assets, money laundering, operation of foreign accounts while in office as the governor of Kwara State, an allegation that he collected salaries as a governor 4 years after his tenure had elapsed. Saraki, through his team of lawyers led by a former Attorney General of the Federation, Kanu Agabi, is praying the appellate court to set aside a ruling the tribunal delivered against him on March 24. The National Umbrella Body for Lawyers and Judges in Nigeria has frowned at the alleged involvement of lawyers in acts deemed as undermining the anti-corruption fight in the country. The Kaduna branch of the Nigeria Bar Association says it is unacceptable that some members of the legal profession have got their hands dirty in their quest for immediate financial gratification. And in other news now, the Senate has withdrawn its frivolous petition bill, which is also known in some quarters as the anti-social media bill. The bill was sponsored by Bala Ibn Nahala, the Deputy Senate leader. It was withdrawn on the basis of a report by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Human Rights and Legal Matters, David Umar, who described it as a violation of the citizens' right. He added that the bill had provisions that contradicted extant laws and imposed duty of investigation on petitioners. The bill had, since it was read for the first time, elicited widespread condemnation of what many Nigerians described as an attempt to stifle public criticisms of government action. And moving on now, current security challenges in the country is making the armed forces of Nigeria more engaged in some of its stipulated constitutional role in civil-military relations, as it poses a strong influence in the process of development and democracy. Minister for Defense made this known at a one-day dialogue on fostering civil-military relations in Nigeria. It says there is a need for the civil society to understand the purpose of establishing the armed forces with adequate capabilities. Our correspondent Kikelomo Okere tells us more.
The Nigerian military, like many government institutions, require a functional and effective channel to educate, inform and enlighten the public on its activities. Given the complexity associated with the balancing of military necessity and human rights protection during conflict, it has become imperative that the public should be more involved and knowledgeable about the role and function of the Nigerian military and show cooperation, especially in the time of crisis.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria is established to defend, protect, preserve, project, and secure Nigerian national interests at home and abroad, as directed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federation, as prescribed by an act of the National Assembly.
President Alumni Association of National Defense College and the Human Rights Representative disclosed that the civil-military dialogue is aimed at promoting the relationship between the civil society and the military to improve accountability, security, and national cohesion.
However, experience has shown that there is apathy towards the military and other security agencies by the citizens. In asymmetric operation warfare, maximum cooperation is required from the civilians. This is because asymmetric warfare, as it is population-centric.
Considering that the Commission has been working closely with the Nigerian military for some time now, we are in a position to know that a lot has changed in the disposition of the military high command and its personnel towards the human rights concept generally, and in particular their efforts at mainstreaming human rights norms and principles, not only in their counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism operations.
However, the importance of the need to develop a roadmap for a proper delineation of boundary in the civil military in Nigeria, according to legal military experts, cannot be overstated, especially in the face of the Boko Haram insurgency and other security challenges. Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Taraba State Police Command is cracking down on some gangs that have been engaging in criminal activities across the state, particularly cattle rustling and kidnapping. Parading some suspects in Jalingo, the State Police Commissioner, Shaba Al-Khali, says the command is doing everything it takes to ensure that the state is rid of criminals and all levels of crime. Our correspondent Udra Godwin tells us more.
10 suspects are being paraded or following their arrest by the command in separate operations, while large cache of arms and ammunition, including 5 AK-47 rifles, 2 assault rifles, 2 single-barrel guns, 1 locally made double-barrel pistol, and a locally made single-barrel pistol, and several rounds of live ammunition. The State Commissioner of Police says the gangs were smashed by a special joint operation of SARS recently set up by the command in conjunction with local vigilante groups.
I have recently decided to have what I call a special operation outfit in conjunction with members of communities.
The police boss further revealed that the operations that led to the smashing of the gangs were carried out in Bali, Donga, Kasol, and Takum local government areas of the state.
We are all aware that we're having crisis here, especially economic crisis. I strongly believe that this crisis is as a result of arms being made available all over.
Successes are being recorded on the recovering of firearms and ammunition by joint operation of SARS, the local communities and vigilante groups, as they have contributed to crack down criminality in the state. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
Former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwakwanso is admonishing the Lagos State government to rethink moving the popular Mouth Market to Imota, a suburb of the state. Kwakwanso, while on a visit to the market, spoke with the traders and market leaders as they called on the Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode to carry them along in the relocation process. Our correspondent Akin Obakeye tells us more.
2 months after the Mouth crisis that left 6 people dead and property worth millions of naira destroyed, former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwakwanso, is bringing the message of solidarity to the traders. The market men and women are expressing dissatisfaction with the state government's planned relocation to Imota, some 30 minutes drive from the ever-busy Lagos metropolis.
Every step taken, we should be carried along. Every plan that they have for my 12, we should be part and parcel. We should be partners in progress. We want the development of this market.
The visiting ex-governor believes that relocating the market could have a negative effect on business.
For any governor, in my opinion, to come now and say, look, I am moving you to another bush after 40 years, probably with no compensation, no nothing. I don't believe that is a fair deal.
Lagosians still have the next 4 months to know if shopping for foodstuffs will be at Mile 12 or further down at Imota. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And in Plateau State, the pilot for the switch over from analog to digital television broadcasting is calling on stakeholders in the industry to be committed to the 2017 deadline for a total switch over. Speaking at the stakeholders meeting, the State Commissioner for Information, Ahmed Nasivi, says the cooperation of all persons involved has become imperative for Nigeria to achieve total switch over to digital broadcasting. Our Plateau State correspondent tells us more.
The Commissioner for Information in Plateau State says the state is ready to provide leadership to all stakeholders in ensuring the success of the digital switchover project. He calls on all to give the maximum support for the actualization of the project so that Nigeria would not be left behind in the world of broadcasting.
We have started, and we have started with the sole aim to detect all the odds for others to benefit out of our mistakes.
The State Director of the National Broadcasting Commission, while describing the features of the set-top box, urges the citizenry to maximize its usage. He also promises that the 15 channels therewith will soon be increased to 30.
The set-top box has features that will help activation and deactivation. It has features that you can use to browse when it is activated. You can use it to view different channels. Like I said, there are 15 channels now.
In his contribution, General Manager of the Plateau State Television Corporation says the Plateau State government has spent almost ₦1 billion, therefore calling on others to ensure the success of the project.
The government of Plateau State for investing a lot of money in Plateau Radio Television Corporation, over ₦1 billion, to ensure that we join the DSO successfully.
International deadline for the switch over from analog to digital broadcasting is 2017. Although several countries in Africa have switched, Nigeria is still lagging.
Civil society and government representatives have agreed to advocate indigenous language in basic schools in order to improve academic efficiency. The group, under the umbrella of non-governmental agency, claim to possess a working relationship with the Kwara State Ministry of Education after carrying out research on how indigenous language can help for effective learning of pupils at basic level, especially primary 1 to primary 3.
While addressing journalists in Lorry, State and North Central Zonal Coordinator Hajia Nimat Laibaka, disclosed that poor academic performance of pupils in elementary school can be traced to communication gap by the instructors. She noted that if teachers who could speak the local language can be posted to each of the nomadic schools in Kwara State, academic efficiency will be improved by using local language as instructors. She urges the state government and universal basic education to keen into the policy in order to give our pupils a sound and understanding education.
On the preferred language of instruction in schools, from the results gathered, opinions of teachers and children with 78% of interviewed children and 78% of teachers opining that the use of local language will boost children's academic performance. Some of the teachers who prefer to stick to English as language of instruction also acknowledge that the use of local language will improve performance.
Healthcare Providers Association of Nigeria is reiterating the importance of health insurance and what needs to be done to have quality and affordable healthcare service. At a forum in Lagos, practitioners urge Nigerians to embrace the concept of preparing for health eventualities while enumerating the benefits thereof. Our correspondent Victoria Solomon tells us more.
Health is defined by World Health Organization is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Health insurance is preparedness against the risk of incurring medical expenses.
Universal health coverage is defined as ensuring that all people have access to needed promotive, preventive, curative, and rehabilitative health service.
The only way you can get health care to everybody, from the rich to the poor, the grassroots, and everybody, is health insurance. And that is what is done all over the world, everywhere in the world. Okay? That is what the government in Nigeria is trying to do.
Health practitioners then call on all Nigerians to embrace health.
We want providers, health workers, not just doctors, nurses, pharmacists, radiographers, laboratory scientists, to understand the concept of health insurance and to know what their roles will be when eventually it comes on board.
The only way out now is for all states to join health insurance, to team up with NHIS, and all the programs of NHIS should be improved upon. Right?
It is hoped that, for instance, infant and maternal mortality rates will be lowered as the campaign to imbibe a positive attitude towards health insurance scheme gains ground. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
A call has gone out to Nigerians to embrace family planning, especially in the face of present economic challenges in the country. Experts are urging government as they play pivotal roles to make efforts to disseminate needed information to the urban as well as rural areas. Our correspondent Victoria Solomon also tells us more in this report.
Family planning allows individuals and couples to anticipate and attain their desired number of children and the spacing and timing of their births. Medical experts say the society has a role to play to ensure that family planning is embraced.
All hands must be on deck religiously. It must be preached in the churches and mosques and other religions so that we can plan our life, plan our system, plan for the country.
The government has a major role to play in this area. The government needs to empower the community. For family planning, I think there's need for more engagement with the community. I think there's need for more enlightenment, and these issues are to be driven by the government.
Some are, however, averse to contraceptives as they say it opposes their religious and cultural beliefs.
The church teaches us to restrict ourselves to natural methods of family planning for obvious reasons. Whatever is artificial is not acceptable, not just because of this spiritual or moral aspect of it, but also for the possible complications or possible after effects that it could have on the woman.
Current economic realities demand that adjustments be made. As experts, family planning is projected one of many. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
We'll bring you more stories from outside Nigeria right after this break. To stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
And on the foreign scene, around 12,000 people have been urged to leave Canada's oil sand camps near the fire-hit town of Fort McMurray as a resurgent wildfire edged towards them. Officials say 8,000 people were given precautionary evacuation orders, in addition to some 4,000 who had already been advised to leave. More than 80,000 people fled the fire that hit Fort McMurray 2 weeks ago, as air quality in the Alberta city is still at dangerously high levels. Tight security is in place in Hong Kong for the visit of the most senior official from Beijing since large pro-democracy protests in 2014. Zhang Leizhong, the leader responsible for Hong Kong affairs, arrived amid discontent with alleged interference by Beijing. Zhang says it was in Hong Kong to listen to all sectors of society. More than 6,000 policemen have been deployed amid planned protest by pro-democracy groups. And in sports,
our style, and that's what he delivered.
For Flying Eagle head coach Emmanuel Amunike has picked an 18-man squad for the Africa Youth Championship qualifying game against Burundi in Bujumbura, which includes Kelechi Nwakwali and Victor Osimhen. The Flying Eagles have been training in Abuja for the past weeks, and Amunike has selected the bulk of the team from the lads that helped him win the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Chile last year. The team, which departs Nigeria on Wednesday for Saturday's clash, will be led by FIFA's Under-17 World Cup Most Valuable Player Nwakwali and Golden Boot winner Osimhen. Other graduates from the class of 2015 include John Lazarus, Udochukwu Amudu, Ojik Okonkwo and Kingsley Michael. The 2017 Under-20s Nation Cup will be hosted by Zambia. FIFA referee William Agbovi has been banned for 8 consecutive competitive matches by the Ghana Football Association Executive Committee. The ban, which took immediate effect, is due to Agbovi's failure to award a penalty to WA All-Stars against the Medama around the 88th minute of the Ghana Premier League Matchday 10 game played in Takwa. The match review panel found the referee to have awarded a foul against an Adona Stars attacker when it should have been awarded a foul against the defender of that game. And that's a wrap on CoreTV Sports News and on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, let's have a recap of our top stories for tonight. That's a wrap on CoreTV Primetime News. Thanks so much for watching. From all of us here at CoreTV News, we want to say have a good night's rest. I am Sarah Ayuku.